Good evening. It's March 13th, 2025, Thursday. It's my honor and pleasure to be sitting with Mr. John, let it run, Mr. John J. Jeckovich,
John J. Jeckovich.
a World War II hero from Niagara Falls, New York. He grew up at 3063 Orleans Avenue.
Don't say that now.
Why? What's wrong?
Orleans Avenue is a dump.
Oh, but when you lived there it was nice, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Huh. But you were born in 1925. Mr. Jeckovich this year will be 100. He's knocking on the door of 100. Hear it?
Yeah.
He's knocking. It's right there. Mr. Jeckovich will be 100 years old this year.
I'm 100 years old now.
No, 1925, October 17th, 1925. When Mr. Jeckovich was born, he was going through the Great Depression. Did that affect you or your family?
No, we ate well. We had well clothes. Christmas time was good for us. All new clothes.
Everything was nice.
Everything was normal.
When Mr. Jeckovich was growing up, gasoline was 7 cents a gallon. You could fill up your big land yacht car for $1.50. Let's see, houses, really nice houses, were $2,000. No such thing as real estate tax. Real estate tax. Real estate tax is the biggest scam in the world. You can't buy a halfway decent house today and not be taxed to death. It's the biggest scam in the world and you get nothing for it. You get nothing for it. Everyone thinks they own their house. Miss a couple years of your real estate payments and find out what little you own. Mr. Jeckovich was, at that time in 1925, brand new cars were $500. It was just the way it was. The husband would work and the lady would take care of the household, run the household and make sure everything was going smooth. At that time, ladies just didn't work, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that was the right way?
That was the right way, yeah.
How do you think it is today with all the ladies?
Hectic.
Hectic, yeah. Hectic. The hardest and most important job in the world is being a mom. There's no doubt. But now we're in such a situation that husbands are working 2 or 3 jobs. The wives are working 2 or 3 jobs. And they're not getting rich by no means. They're just surviving.
No.
Daycare is several $100s a week. They're just surviving. It's a shame. Let's hope it turns around and goes back to the old times. Because it certainly worked well for you. Correct?
Why?
Husband working, wife taking care of the household.
Oh, yeah, that was normal.
It was normal. Yeah. Mr. Jeckovich was married. How many years were you married?
69.
Mr. Jeckovich was married 69 long and wonderful years. Now today, in Florida alone, we had 90,000 divorces last year.
Oh, Jesus, boy.
Why? Almost the same answer. Money. Too much stress on the family, and it just doesn't work out well. The honeymoon phase ends like in a couple months. It's just too much stress. They can't afford an apartment. They can't afford a house. When Mr. Jeckovich was growing up, his wife would pick up his check from Kimberly-Clark and she'd go grocery shopping at Top Supermarket and the bill was like $30-40 for a family of 4 all week, fully shelf stocked. Now you can't take a kid to Chick-fil-A for $40. Things have changed. What do you think of the economy today?
Terrible.
Terrible, yeah. Wow. Terrible. Mr. Jeckovich is a full-blown World War II combat hero. He's from Company H, the 2nd Battalion of the 291st Regiment of the 75th Infantry Division of the U.S. Army during World War II. One of the mottos Mr. Jeckovich lives by is yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, And today is a gift. Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't today a gift?
A gift? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Boys and girls, it's a short dance around the sun. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Because it doesn't last long. It doesn't last long, boys and girls. It doesn't last long. The book we're reading is Mr. Jeckovich's book. He wrote about 3 decades ago, and it's titled Their Mother's Sons. Their Mother's Sons. And the book takes Mr. Jeckovich from the age of approximately 11, when his father, a legal immigrant who came through Ellis Island, was working very hard at 3 jobs to give his son a better life. He was basically worked to death. On his 3rd job that day, making cement, he passed out and died of a heart attack in the cement, completely gone at 11 years old. Excuse me, Mr. Jeckovich is 11 years old, and his father was 43. And from that point on, Mr. Jeckovich's responsibility was taking care of his mother. When your father died, how'd you see him? How'd you find out? What happened?
Well, the police called me up at 8 o'clock, told me to go down to the hospital. Your father got hurt.
How'd you get to the hospital?
They rolled me down.
And then what happened?
They left me off at the front door. I went down, I asked her to tell me where my father is. She went, well, we'll take you down.
Oh.
And I thought to myself, down? Why am I going down?
Oh, yeah. Then what?
We went down to the morgue.
And then what did you see?
I see my father laid out, his eyes closed, and there was a little cement on his face, a little cement on his pants, work pants and that.
And what did the morgue attendant tell you?
He said, we'll go through his pockets and tell us what you got. We'll get an inventory.
And what did you find in Marion Jeckovich's pockets?
Can of Prince Albert tobacco and the papers that they rolled it up in. A couple keys, keys for the car, keys for the house.
Well, and that was the beginning of the book right there. Their mother's sons. Mr. Jeckovich took care of his mother to her demise at 89. They lived in the same house. They lived in the same house. Mr. Jeckovich has made many sacrifices caring for his mother. One of them could have been the deadliest. For example, World War II was just beginning when Mr. Jeckovich was a teenager. His 2 brothers enlisted, and when you enlist, you get kind of a really cushy job. One of your brothers was doing parking cars.
No, he was, look, he got a permission from my mother to go to the Coast Guard, and went to the Coast Guard, and Stevie got us, when they finally caught up with him, he was got a school department, he was parking Jeeps.
Parking Jeeps.
Showing the crews how to park Jeeps.
So those are some of the type of jobs you would get if you enlist. Mr. Jeckovich did not enlist. Why?
Well, I was taking care of my mother.
So Mr. Jeckovich did not enlist. He waited till he got drafted, the knocking on the door of Uncle Sam. Now when you get drafted, you don't get the cushy jobs like teaching people how to drive Jeeps. You're going to the front line.
Yeah, well, I was 33. I was combat age. That's what they wanted.
The 33 is a code that indicates a teenager. Teenagers, believe it or not, are great fighters then, and I hope they are now, unless their mothers ruin them. Teenagers were great fighters then. And you can't imagine this, but a teenager had much more stamina, much more aggressive than a 24 or 25-year-old.
Yeah.
What did you notice with 24 or 25-year-olds up in combat compared to the teenagers?
Well, they passed out. They got relieved. They went home. I know Wayne went. He couldn't take it. They discharged him.
So they needed teenagers. And Mr. Jeckovich was in the bloodiest battle of the war, the final battle, before Adolf Hitler, the coward, committed suicide. That was called the Battle of the Bulge. Mr. Jeckovich been shot up, beat up, stabbed, bombed, still has shrapnel in his leg, trench foot and frostbite. What else? What did I miss?
Lost a hip.
Lost a hip. And all this happened, they sent him to a hospital in Paris. And after several months in the hospital, they said, Mr. Jeckovich, if your finger could squeeze that machine gun again, your index finger, and if you're able to walk, you're what?
Fit for duty.
Fit for duty. So he's seen all kinds of horrors, and later he broke the gates down with several other, thousands of other combat vets, the Holocaust camps and the prisoner of war camps, and that was not a pretty sight. That was not a pretty sight. When you got into the camps, what did they tell you not to do?
Where?
Prisoner of war camps, what did they tell you not to do?
Don't feed them. Don't
And
feed
why
them.
is that?
Well, they haven't eaten regular. Their stomach, the starter system is all screwed up, and you can feed them now. You
They're a
kill
real
them.
mess.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys, 220, 240, and now they're 60 and 70 pounds. The World War II veterans were known as the greatest generation, and I believe it. The brave cannot live forever. The brave cannot live forever. Mr. Jeckovich was in combat, and there's only 6,000 of these World War II combat veterans left. We started off with a total rear echelon and combat, men and lady, of 16,400,000. But now we're down to 6,000 combat vets, and we're losing them at a rate of 150 a day. So the brave cannot live forever. The cautious will not live at all. Who's the cautious? The cautious are the guys that were in 40 years later in the Vietnam War that took off to Canada.
Yeah.
They didn't fight. There was no one in World War II that took off to Canada. In fact, the opposite. You had 16 and 17-year-old boys lying about their age because they wanted to fight for the country. So the cautious will not live at all. World War II vets had a theory: scare yourself every day. And if you get old enough, you lose all your friends. That's life. Mr. Jeckovich has been through quite a bit, but he would not change anything of it, all of his injuries. So he took much time in the war. He came out alive, and we firmly believe he came out alive for one reason, and one reason only: the prayer of a former Roman Catholic nun from Paris, Renee, and the rosaries that his mother, Anna Targus Jeckovich, prayed nightly for his safety. So he made it home. But the message of this book is to share life with others, so the younger generation have a better shot at having a nice life, an easy life. This book is how many pages?
849.
How much money have you made off this book?
And I sold it.
Not a soul. It's not about money. Never going to be about money. This book will never be sold, but there is a major, one of the copies in the World War II Museum in New Orleans. But if you listen to all Mr. Jeckovich's podcasts, there's 450, maybe 460 podcasts, and we take it from chapter 1 all the way to the end. So there is his book, and it teaches a lot of lessons. It teaches a lot of good lessons. And
15 minutes.
And rightfully so. This was called the greatest generation. Maybe they're called the greatest generations because their mothers never made it easy, right?
Yeah.
The mothers of the guys never made it easy. They had chores, do them. You don't talk back, do it.
Yeah.
And it made them tough. But a lot of these kids today,
They sit on their ass now.
they're being ruined. Their mothers have sissified them.
Yeah.
Made them into a bunch of sissies. In most cases, I can picture there's some not, but the majority of them, kids today are crybabies. How do you think they'd do in a war?
Well, they fold up. They fold
Hold
up.
up. Now, you must understand, there's been wars for thousands of years, and the fact is there'll be wars for thousands of more years. We'll always have wars.
Yeah.
We'll never be without wars. So these kids, these men have to be tough. You don't want to raise a generation of losers. Someone's on Facebook and doing stupid things. And the problem with Facebook, all these kids and mothers brag so much about their kids, and it's not truthful. Oh, my kid did this, my kid did that.
Yeah.
And after a while, they believe their own lies, and that takes away the ability of someone really becoming something important and someone good. Like the mother have sissified these kids. Oh, my little boy took a piss in the toilet today and he didn't hit the toilet seat. Let's give him a trophy. Or the kid running track came in 6th place. Let's have a party for him. That's not good. You're raising a bunch of losers. And when mom kicks the bucket, these kids might be just a bunch of homeless kids.
Yeah.
The Army sure wouldn't want them.
No.
The Army wouldn't want these sissies. So the mothers better rethink what we're doing. And some of the messages and notes from the book are, Mr. Jeckovich tried so hard to make things better for our kids, and maybe they were worse. But this message goes for my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren. Just yesterday, Mr. Jeckovich had 3 of his grandchildren, great-grandchildren, Anna, Nicole Jeckovich, Zachary Jeckovich, and Haley Jeckovich.
Yeah.
You had them all here. It's beautiful. Yeah, and he gave a little message. Here's a little message. The message is quite simple. Different things, but we'll read part of it. I really like them to know about hand-me-down clothes. We want the great-grandchildren to know me about hand-me-down clothes, homemade ice cream, and leftover meatloaf sandwiches. I really would like to have them know about leftovers so they don't always have to have the finest. I hope they learn about humility, and I hope they learn about humility by being humiliated. And I hope they learn about honesty by them being cheated. What better lessons than this? I hope you learn to make your own bed and mow the lawn and wash your own car. And I really hope no one gives you a brand new car when you're 16. It'd be good at least one time you could see puppies being born and your old dog put to sleep. I hope you get a black eye, a really black eye, fighting for something you believe in. I hope you share the same bedroom with your brother, and if it's all right to draw a line down the middle of the room, but if he wants to crawl in under the covers with you because you're scared, I hope you let him. When you want to see a movie with your little brother, wants to tag along, I hope you let him. I hope you have to walk uphill to school with your friends and that you live in a town where you could do it safely. You did a lot of walking in high school, didn't you?
Yeah.
You walked from Niagara Falls, where to Niagara Falls High, then where?
The track.
You went to 2 different high schools.
Yeah.
And there was no car. Your mother didn't drive you.
No.
You did it on your own.
Yeah, and then go to Kresge to work.
And then you go to Kresge's to work. On rainy days when you have to catch a ride, that's with mom, I hope you don't ask your mom to drop you off 2 blocks away so you won't be seen riding with someone as uncool as your mom. If you want a slingshot, I hope your dad teaches you how to make one instead of buying one. I hope you learn to dig in the dirt and read books. When you learn to use computers, I hope you also learn how to add and subtract in your head. I hope you get teased by your friends when you have your first crush on a girl, and when you talk back to your mother that you'll learn what ivory soap tastes like. I don't care, this is very important, I don't care if you have a beer once, but I hope you don't like it. I hope you can't stand alcohol. I hope you can't stand beer.
Or smoking.
Or smoking, it's a curse. And if a friend offers you dope or a joint, I hope you realize he is not your friend. No. I hope you make time to sit on the porch with your grandparents and go fishing with your uncle. May you feel sorrow at a funeral and joy during the holidays. I hope your mother punishes you when you throw a baseball through the neighbor's window, and that she hugs you and kisses you at Christmas time when you give her a plaster mold of your hand. These are the things I wish for you. Tough times and disappointment, hard work and happiness, to me, it's the only way to appreciate life. And that's that.
That's that.
You gotta be tough on them. If you make it easy, you'll ruin them. Well, let's knock off a few pages in your book, but in order to open up the laptop, I'll need your dog tag number.
420965.
Wow. Here it is, Chapter 3. I had received my draft notice and was to take my physical in several weeks. So how did draft notice come? Just in the mail?
Yeah.
Or was it certified mail or hand delivered?
No, a telegram.
I see. And then you had to take your physical. So from the time you got your notice, how many weeks did you have to show up?
2 weeks.
I purposely waited out the draft rather than enlisting as my younger brother had done, as I could not force myself into enlisting, but though I knew the consequences. I faced it if I waited for the draft. By enlisting, it would appear to me as if I deserted my mother and sister. So not only were you taking care of your mother, you're taking care of your younger sister.
Yeah, she was younger.
So you wanted to strut it out as long as possible, even though the end result, you'd be in combat instead of a cushy job if you enlisted. But if I was drafted, that was something out of my control. I retained my job at Croisdale's up to the final 2 weeks before I left for active duty. So you're working with Johnny up to the end, Uncle
What?
Johnny. At Croisdale's, you're working with Uncle Johnny up to the end. Right?
Uncle Andy.
Excuse me, Uncle Andy, yeah.
Yeah.
Uncle Johnny was Andy's brother.
Yeah, well, he worked the killer.
Did you ever work with him?
Well, he used to come over to the #1 mill and do some stuff. It was a millwright.
You guys got along?
Huh?
You guys got along?
Not as well as I did with my uncle.
I had misgivings about my entrance into the military service. They were not of personal nature, such as newness of it all, or the separation from family. They were more of a secondary nature. What would happen at home when I left? Like, who's going to take care of the furnace?
Yeah, I mean,
You're gonna feed that furnace every night.
That furnace had to be. It wasn't oil or gas. It was pea coal. You had to bank it every night, especially in cold weather. You had to
Who took
bank.
care of it when you were gone?
Well, I don't know. I guess the guy what's his name downstairs, the plumber.
He did a good job.
Well, I don't think so. I don't know. He left the ashes in the cellar.
Did your mother ever complain it was cold?
No, I don't know. Well, she wouldn't complain anyway.
Minutes? Okay, so that was a good point. Rather than turning my thoughts
6.5.
Rather than turning my thoughts to more personal appraisal of the forthcoming experience, I was concentrating on my events at home. Just prior to my leaving, I was constantly instructing my mother, to a lesser extent my sister, on the various duties about the house. How to bank the furnace at night. What's bank the furnace at night mean?
You take some coal, fresh coal, and put it in the back of the furnace and shove it down the center, and that would be the back of it. And then open the vent on the bottom just a little bit to get the air.
And that would go all night?
Most of the time, yeah.
You didn't have to, when you were working that furnace, did you have to get up in the middle of the night many times?
No, there was a little red light on I put a red light, warning light on the living room floor, on the wall, and when that draft opened, that light went on.
How would you do that? How would you make a red light back then that would light up when the furnace was getting low?
Well, that was a regular light for a furnace. And I bought it at, when the hell I bought that? I think I bought it at, not Hyson, but I think I bought it at, what's the other place? And I put it on the wall, and when the draft opened up on the bottom, that light would go on. Then I know that.
And you run down there and fill it, right?
No, I know it was open, and I had to be careful, watch it, so it would, if it stayed open too long, it would burn the coal up.
Okay. Okay.
I like that little light.
How to bake the furnace at night using the shaker to remove the ashes from the fire pit, preventing exposed water pipes from freezing, and 101 more times they were taken for granted when I was home. So they took everything for granted because you were doing it.
Yeah.
You were doing it. Steve never went through this ritual. Steve never did it once.
What?
Take care of the furnace.
Steve?
Yeah.
No, I never went down cellar.
It would never occur to him. He took it for granted that someone else would do it.
Well, he would go, when he come home, he'd hook up with that stupid, what the hell's his name? And they go camping or do something else.
So we didn't take care of the house.
No.
Yeah. Steve would never go through this ritual and would never occur to him. Jimmy Duncan. Is that what
No,
you think?
Jimmy Duncan, yeah, Jimmy
He took it for
Duncan.
granted that someone else would do it and therefore was none of his
It
concern.
was not on his mind. It escaped his mind. Look, it was worse.
Lookey never availed himself to details of this nature when he was at home, so he certainly would not concern himself with them in his absence. So what the hell? If it got cold in the house, these two guys wouldn't step up?
No.
No. I also requested the help of the tenants upstairs, stating that I would appreciate any help they afforded me while my mother was away, with my mother when I was away. They were good, decent people, and they gave me their assurance that they would help in any way they could and not to worry. Did they do a good job?
Who's this?
The tenants upstairs you gave me.
Horbs, yeah.
They were nice.
Yeah.
All in all, I presumed I had covered everything relative to the welfare of my mother and sister, and that I checked around the house for anything that I might have missed that needed attention, or perhaps something I could alert my mother to keep a watchful eye on the furnished attention. I was concerned about leaving to such an extent that I completely forgot about the service and all that would entail. I had no girlfriend to go to for a fleeting moment. I thought about Jessie and how wonderful it'd be to see her once again and spend my last few days in her company. Well, that's part of chapter 3. I have a few questions. You feel up to it?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay, minutes, please.
2 and 10 seconds.
During World War II, Mr. Jeckovich, was your faith ever tested?
My what?
Faith ever tested?
Faith or what?
Was your faith, religion, ever tested during World War II?
No.
What, Mr. Jeckovich, what do you believe happens to our souls when we die?
You just deteriorate and that's it.
That's it.
Or cremated.
What makes a good person in your eyes?
A good person?
In your eyes?
Well, he considers other people, considers his parents, realizes what he has to do at home, and he got to realize his responsibilities.
Mr. Jeckovich, your mother was a devout Roman Catholic. Do you believe in God?
Philosophically, yeah.
I see. What does Jesus Christ mean to you?
Jesus Christ?
Mean to you?
Well, according to my Catholic religion, he's God Almighty.
We mentioned that your mother was a devout Catholic, but what was actually your religion when you were growing up?
Actually, my mother was wrong. She was a Catholic. My father, not so much. My mother.
You were baptized Catholic?
Oh yeah.
Was your father a Catholic?
Well, in reality, yeah, but he didn't bless it or nothing else.
Mr. Jeckovich, when you were growing up, what church did you attend?
Holy Rosary.
23 seconds.
Wow. Holy Rosary. That church, you were there a long time. Your mother went there to the day she passed away, right?
10.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's where she had the funeral.
That's where she had her funeral.
Yeah.
Well, that church meant a lot to your family. That church,
Holy Rosary.